I mean, the demonization of immigrants, Claudia, has reached new proportions.
Demonization, criminalization, and all sorts of ludicrous accounts by Trump. The worst person to put anything up like that. I think it's important to mention that the so-called migrant crises that both parties have been talking about has been caused precisely because there is US imperialism that is stomping on the necks of countries like Venezuela with the sanctions, with Cuba with a over 60-year-old blockade that steals $15 million a day from the Cuban economy. It has to do with the constant intervention in countries like Haiti, the wars that have been launched against people in the Middle East and Africa. I mean, it is US empire that has caused the climate catastrophe that we are experiencing. And so the millions and millions of people that are forced to move across borders wouldn't have to do that if they would be allowed to create nation states that provide for them. And the United States has been attacking, has been destroying that possibility for decades. And so we need to be really clear on what is the responsibility of US capitalists and US imperialists in people's need to migrate, because no one actually just wakes up one day and says, I want to be caught in the border of the US and Mexico, or the border of US and Canada, and be tortured and be, taken away from my family. No one makes that decision. It is a decision that is imposed on people who don't have access, and that access has been stolen from them. So they come to this country following the traces of the things that have been stolen from them. And we need to be clear, and none of these two candidates are serious enough to assume the responsibility and say that when and say that what we need to do is understand foreign policy in relationship to migration and create a foreign policy that is not based on extraction and is not based on taking over the world at the expense of working people everywhere.
Yeah, Vijay Prashad, who's been on this show and who's an amazing writer and researcher, just put out a piece for Tricontinental Research about migration. And the numbers that we were using here at the Socialist Program, which were about 60 million people in general, are on the move. They're moving somewhere because they're escaping war, they're escaping poverty, they're escaping violence, they're escaping climate catastrophe. According to his most recent dossier, and it's an excellent piece, people can check it out for themselves, he puts the number at more like 200 million people. This would be more people on the move globally than at any time since World War II, and maybe even during World War II. And World War II, of course, is the violence of World War II was of such a magnitude that 80 million people were killed in 5 years, and societies were dislocated. But when you put together neoliberal capitalism, economic sanctions, U.S. military invasions and wars, climate catastrophe, meaning the rising sea levels in particular for people living in coastal areas, you can see that this is not an ephemeral problem. This is not about to go away. This is an enduring structural problem of late-stage capitalism. And again, all these two candidates can do is try to beat each other up without actually addressing the issue. Because if they address the issue, Claudia, they'd have to say, as we say on this show, that the current system isn't working, that you would actually need a new system, which doesn't mean we can't have a new system. It's not like something that can't be achieved.